My name again is Matthew Bach. I'm a VP and partner here at MindWire. And joining today is Hero Frenzel, who is our client journey specialist here at MindWire. We're excited to talk through about some creative ways and other ways to develop employees that may not include a promotion. So thank you for joining. Let's jump right into it. So today we're going to talk about the problem, how employees crave development. And again, it may not always be a linear path. We're going to talk about some of the solutions, how you can see their awesome skills in the team that you've been missing. Swap that boring old career path for a cool playground where everyone gets to jump around. We get to try new things. You get to show off their skills. And some of the solutions that we're going to talk about today: skill building, nonlinear career paths, some special project groups. And it would not be a MindWire mini workshop if we didn't give you a worksheet. So here we'll be putting in the chat a worksheet to help you start selecting your starting line and where and how to get started. So let's talk about some of the pitfalls of traditional talent development approaches. Sometimes the perception is the only way up is if there is a vacancy at the end, and that may not necessarily be the case. Hi, again, thank you again for 30 minutes, but it's difficult for leaders to build the skills that their people may need when everyone is already so busy. But the data shows that 54% of leaders agree that capability building is the best way to close those skill gaps. Also, some of the other pitfalls: sometimes when you promote others, those current employees may get feelings of jealousy. They may feel like they might need to look elsewhere if they're not getting that interaction. Lastly, for some employees, growth does not always mean a title promotion. So how do you grow and evolve if you don't want to move up? For some of you who are participating today, you may know our fearless leader. And the worst thing that you could say, and one of Jerry's catch-all phrases, Jerry Rutter, our president, is keep doing what you're doing. And it usually, oh, look at that, I got the animation. And it usually follows up with, how's that working for you? Again, trying something different can be daunting, but that's what we're going to talk about today. I'll cast a story that many of you may have experienced, or it may be similar to other stories, but there's a VP with an organization. They thought they had a pulse on their top performer. But when that performer submitted his resignation, the VP asked why. He found out about 6 months earlier, this performer, high performer, who he thought he had a pulse on, was insulted when another candidate was selected for a promotion. The irony of this story is that the VP even told the candidate that he wasn't eligible for this role. And again, thought he had a good pulse with this individual. And the recently resigned employee agreed that he understood, but that person could not see a way in the organization to become eligible to move forward. So in this instance, the VP could have gotten creative, identified some special projects, tried to do things that are aligning, that are important to the business and are informal. For that recently resigned individual could have been assigned to. Again, a nonlinear path. Again, time is a precious commodity, and if you think you're just telling that individual to keep doing what they're doing, there could be a pitfall. So again, the story kind of illustrates that, and I'm sure all of you may have or seen similar stories. Hero's going to put in the chat a worksheet for you. And before we get started, think about 3 individuals that you want to develop. Maybe one of those individuals is a high performer. Maybe somebody that has high potential and is underutilized. But try to think of 3 individuals. The first step is understanding their strengths. Then you need to know how the employee wants to grow. Once you first know that, align their goals with the organizational opportunities, tying their plan to that overall strategic initiative. Then provide them with some options and build the development plan together. Again, we're going to walk you through this on how to complete the worksheet. So let's go ahead and jump into it. We use this illustration for understanding performance. And again, you have people on your team and you want to keep them. You want to help them grow, but you don't know what to do with them. So therefore, you need a structure and a process to build a development plan for the team. Understanding their strengths, using the assessments to uncover those fixed assets, using that behavioral assessment and that cognitive assessment in conjunction with their resume will help you measure their strengths. And when you're building a development plan, understand and leverage strengths. Nonlinear career paths, they again need an understanding of somebody's fixed strengths. So using that behavioral assessment, using that cognitive, understanding what they bring to the role, what they're bringing to the team, to the workplace, is utterly critical. So in your worksheet, you're going to go ahead and identify their strengths and behaviors and skills that kind of start and help you along your path.
And Matt, if I can just jump in here, invite your employee into this part of the conversation. If they've taken the predictive index behavioral report or another assessment, hopefully you're talking to them about their results and identifying what makes them great. It's a huge engagement booster. It's a huge mood booster. It's a huge confidence booster. And you're not just buttering up, you're using the analytics of the assessment to talk about what they are actually good at as a starting space for their development plan. You're not going to develop them into, a unicorn or a monkey. We're going to leverage their strengths from the behavioral and their learning agility, combine that with some skill building in their experience to get them to the next level of their game. So invite them into the strength part of the conversation and start building your relationship now.
And for those of you that have access to the predictive index and are using those behavioral assessments, that can start with a readback. Something that for a lot of organizations may not take place. They may use it for the hiring process and they may use it for other aspects, but doing that readback really is an entry point to be able to start discussing an employee's strengths. Again, setting that conversation that it's not about fixing flaws, it's celebrating what you bring to the workplace. And using that readback is a great way to be able to start thinking down that path of somebody's strengths. If you don't know where they want to grow, consider using these questions that we've got listed here. Again, don't make assumptions on knowing how or where they want to grow. What are your goals? Again, a very simple question. These questions can help you build that clear picture of where your employee wants to grow. Development plans, they can seem daunting. Anything can. Change is always daunting for certain individuals, but just focus on one area of development for the year, for the quarter. Chip away at it. Create a starting point. When you start asking questions like these, you're building credit in that trust bank with your employees. This is why it's important, because employees will see that you as a manager are invested in them and their growth. Their employee-manager relationship leads to that retention that every organization is looking for, and we've got Gallup and other data to support this. These questions are a great starting point. And again, assuming is put me in peril many, many times. Just have that conversation, have that dialogue. Again, think back to the thumbs up with the high performer. You're probably leaving them more to their own devices because they are high performers. So having that conversation is a great entry point. Let's talk about aligning to organizational opportunities. Identify points of friction. Identify which programs are not resourced or not assigned. And prioritize based on potential impact alignment with strategic objectives, resource requirements, and the feasibility. And focus on those opportunities that have the greatest potential to drive value for the organization in the short term and long term. You may already have a SWOT, or maybe you use a 6 or 9 box where you have strategic initiatives. Use those. We've provided a SWOT in that worksheet for those of you that may want to use that as the place to start. And if you have PI design, That's also a great resource to use to be able to start this. Remember, prioritize those goals that will have a big impact. No employee wants to work on something that is meaningless or is perceived as busy work.
Yeah, I think this is so important for getting buy-in on the development plan, both for your employee and for those upper level leaders, especially if you're providing resources or want to send the employee to training that's going to take a little bit from the budget. We want to align it to those strategic initiatives and explain to the employee and to the business how this development, how any potential money spending is going to impact the organization. So if I want to send Matt to training, what's that going to get back to the business? How is that going to improve our revenue, help us achieve our goals? How is the special project that I'm working on going to impact our strategic initiatives? And it's not just busy work. So it's a key point here to really align the development plan with what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, that's a great point, Hero. I mean, tying to ROI is always first and foremost and top of mind for many organizations, for sure. So development conversations, when you're having that development conversation, you want to frame it positively and you want to discuss the purpose. First, assess the needs using the worksheet that we provided. Don't give those A+ students extra homework. Find out what their strengths are and how they want to grow. Again, don't assume. Explain the why. It's not busy work if it's tied to that strategic initiative or that career goal. Validate and share what winning looks like. Could be professional growth and skill enhancement for the employee. Could be a culture of innovation and collaboration. Employee engagement and retention. Those tangible business results and solutions. We're building a pipeline of future leaders and specialists. On that last page of your worksheet, you're going to see that we've got a formula for you to help develop that plan. It's building of that plan that's going to be very essential and key.
Yeah, so again, I'll pop in here on that last page of your worksheet that I put in the chat. I'll reshare that. We've got this development plan template. And this is the secret sauce, you guys. This is the real development plan template that we use here at Mindwire. I recently filled mine out for my 2024 goals and reviewed it with my manager. So I've given this example to Matt to share. He'll go ahead and populate and kind of walk you through a real life example of what it might look like to fill out the development plan like this with your employee.
So let's take a look at the top one, the description of the goal. Improve writing skills and SEO knowledge. Create Mindwire blogs that drive web traffic. Very tangible, very easy to understand description of a goal. Next is her what success looks like. She's going to own that blog creation by June 1st. She's going to publish 5 new blogs per month. And that description is subjective, but that success statement is objective. Some progress descriptors outline the blog creation, the steps, complete creative writing e-learning, complete web SEO learning session with web development partner. It's important. What are the roles for the employee and what are the roles for the leader? For the employee, that blog process map, research e-learning, co-author blogs. For the leader, introduce a web development partner, critique blogs, track SEO. Timing, this is not out there way far in the future. Check in on June 1st. And some resources that are listed. SEO web development partner, organization that we use, Factor One Studios, Skillshare and e-learning courses. Those resources, they could be internal to the organization or they could be external, like a third-party vendor or a partner, just as was listed in the example. What you can see here as it relates to this plan that Hero shared, that her goal was focused around skill building. So we're going to transition to talk about some of those options for those development opportunities as it relates to skill. So some of them could be those technical skills based on the skill gaps or skill needed to move forward towards an employee's goal. Could be interpersonal skills based on feedback or desired area of growth. Could fall under the change resilience or that digital literacy AI. Those are hot topics right now. That'll definitely lead to growth and change. One of the reasons why I sought out to reinvent myself and come to MindWire. Always staying forefront on those changing things and those trends that are coming up in the marketplace. Build the manual on your job. Now I'll explain this one a little bit more. For certain individuals, it could be those individuals that have high D, high formality, crave that structure. Having structure in a guide or a plan in a written format is a great way to provide that clarity of their roles and responsibilities. Those individuals with the high level of formality and attention will enjoy a task like this. They'll get a sense of pride, accomplishment, completing this. There could be a lot of creative ways that you can go around finalizing that once it's built. And lastly, workshops and training. One of the things that we hear from a lot of the leaders that we work with, they don't have time. We've built a workshop around that will give on average 13 hours back into the work week by mastering the art of delegation. And hear that last part again, the art of delegation, not delegating tasks, but the art of delegation. Those are two separate things that certain people struggle with, I being one of them. 13 hours back into a person's day gives a lot of areas to do a lot of these things that we're talking about from a development standpoint. So let's talk through some of these activities. These are not just building skills, but they can also build relationships. It's important. Mentoring is a great activity, especially if your employees don't want to move up. Not every employee wants to move up, as we've shared, but they want growth. They want that opportunity. So we have some clients that use formal mentoring programs and have a process for pairing people up, outlining the goals of mentorship. And we have resources available if you're interested in some real examples that we can provide. One-on-ones. Again, the big thing that always happens with time. If you're not doing one-on-ones, you should be. Put it in your agenda to talk about development, not just to check in on tasks. Again, why this is important is because that employee-manager relationship leads to retention. It's not a task or a check-in, but it's there to coach and assist in removing those obstacles for problem solving. You don't want anybody struggling on the day-to-day. And just because you've maybe identified those high performers, they still want that touch in. They still want that ability to have a conversation. Peer coaching. It's another great way for employees to learn together, learn from each other. I've seen this really successful during onboarding programs. You've got an onboarding buddy. It's a great way for those high performers to rub off, showcase their wares on another, share their special techniques and skills. And last, and we'll tease this at the end as well, we're going to go over this, but a certified specialist coach. And I'll share more of this at the end of the video today. But what we mean is electing employees to become influencers within your organization. Not a TikTok influencer, not a social media influencer, but someone who can get people engaged and inspired. Someone who will champion pilots and do learning sessions with their team. It's a different point of view from their direct report. Think of this last one, again, as an example of nonlinear growth. If you're thinking of special projects, here's some ideas on how to put a team like that together. Could be pitch competitions. Could be for sales. Could be for new ideas, like a new product or a process, which your employee group will pitch to the executive team. Could be community engagement, like partnering with a local school, university, building an internship program, organizing volunteer events, or putting together a committee for sustainability. We just did this recently with MindWire, and it probably was one of the things that filled my cup up, and it stayed full for a long time. was a great opportunity to do things with Hero and other team members, but just that sense of pride of doing something different and thinking differently. If you want to make a special project impactful, why implementation is meaningful, it cannot go into a void. Again, you hear a lot of those of you that work with MindWire, know of MindWire. We want sustainability. We don't want just one-off events. Everything that we do, everything that we profess when we work with our clients is to ensure that we're creating something that goes for the long time, the complete employee life cycle. So let's talk about how to scale impact.
Yeah, if you don't mind, Matt, I'll interrupt you again here to talk about scaling impact. Like Matt just said, one-off events don't work, and we need to create some kind of ongoing, broader system and sustainability for learning to really elevate your business. So if you're looking to scale skills and techniques on your team, there are a bunch of workshops and trainings available. Matt mentioned the delegation workshop that we have, Delegate Like a Boss, which on average, our participants are getting back 13 hours a week with their new skills of delegating. They can use those hours back to do other work, to do leadership work, to work on their own development. We've also got workshops for HR, including the Data-Driven Recruiter. We've got one coming up soon in June. And we have workshops for sales and influencing as well. So customer-focused selling. We just wanted to share that there are resources out there available. You don't need to reinvent the wheel, but you can hook in an individual or a team into a workshop to get that training and really elevate their game, leave them really excited and engaged, coming out of it, applying new skills back into their office job right away.
It really speaks to the heart of us. We want to be there as a resource. You can always bounce ideas off of us. We don't want anyone to feel like what they're doing it alone. And so reach out to your VP. The intellectual capital and the free mind knowledge that we share, we love doing that. Everyone here does it. And so we're just trying to give you something to think of, to use, to create that starting point, to put that toe in the water, to start that conversation, to create where you want to start with those employees that you have.
Okay, so we're almost to the end here. We're going to have Q&A in just a moment. So if you've got any burning questions, comments, ideas, go ahead and start putting those into the chat while Matt gets us wrapped up.
So download that worksheet from the chat. Think of those 3 employees, complete it for 3 employees. Hero's going to ensure that you get this recording. I saw in the chat that asked if somebody could get the presentation. We'll get you the recording. We'll get you the slides. We'll get you the information. Any questions about any of this? Again, where to start? Understanding your employees' strengths. Those are great things to reach out to your VP. Reach out to us here. We'll be more than happy to help you through that path. We always joke we're all tricky humans. We all bring something unique. Fortunately, the world is not built with a bunch of bald men and crooked goatees. Otherwise, it would be a pretty boring place. You need to have everybody bring what they bring to the journey, the team, to the organization, and understanding those strengths is what's going to help you with what we've talked about today.
Okay, so again, go ahead and pop any questions into the chat there. We'll respond to them now. Matt, you talked a lot about time. We do have a question here going, what if I don't have time to fill out these 5 pages for all 8 of my direct reports? How would you guide this leader?
Start with one person. We're all pressed for time. We talk about that workshop, 13 hours. We're all running from meeting to meeting. Some days it's like speed dating and you're just hopping from table to table. Do it for one person. Start by talking about their strengths. It's going to lead to that higher engagement. It's going to build trust with the manager. And again, it's a conversation. If you can't take that time to have the conversation, you're really talking about minimal, least that you could do.
Great. We've got a question here from Jenny. Can someone who hasn't gone through PI training attend one of these workshops? Yes, absolutely. The majority of our workshops start with a foundational knowledge of PI training to get them up to speed. If you've already been through PI training, talk to your consultants, because then we can talk about if we want to, expedite through that foundations knowledge and get you to the meat of the delegation piece, for example. But absolutely, if you haven't been to one of our trainings before, you can attend another workshop with us.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah, thank you, Jenny. We've got another question in here. A little bit of an oops moment. So what if I may have already told my high performer, great, thanks, I don't have anything for you? How do we get out of that?
Take the mea culpa, fall on the sword, explain you were just at a 30-minute mini workshop. You're pressed for time. You got different thought, a different way of thinking. Explain the why. Again, what employee is going to be upset because you came back and said, I was off. Let's start working on this. Let's start having a conversation. So again, take the mea culpa.
Great. I love that. Thanks, Matt. We have time for a few more questions. Someone is asking, when is the right time to have a conversation like this, to do development conversations?
Anytime is the right time. Development, it's ongoing. It's omnipresent. So anytime. But if you're doing anything around a corrective action, that's probably not the time. If you're doing something around when you need to correct something. But development is ongoing. Having that conversation, just starting anytime.
Okay, great. Really good. And then kind of a question that maybe some people are thinking of. There's no dumb questions here, so we're going to throw it out there. What is the difference between professional development versus a career plan? And I myself kind of hear those interchangeably: career plan, career path versus professional development. Can you talk about that a little bit, Matt?
Yeah. Career plans, it's the structure, it's the foundation. What are the roles and responsibilities? And professional development, it's just those actions that you're going to take to get there. So that's kind of the separation between those two.
All right. If there aren't any other questions, I know we're right up on time here. So again, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us here today. If you've got a few minutes to hang out, we've got a quick little case study example for you to expand more on that certified specialist coach example. So Matt, if you want to just share a bit about that case study before we let everyone go.
So we've got a client that's in the home building space, and they came up with kind of a unique way to create what they call a certified specialist coach. And it's unique to each of their departments. So they may have somebody who's a certified specialized coach in their sales group, their manufacturing, and so on. It came into evolution from turnover due to a lack of development opportunities. Employees that felt like they didn't have an advocate outside of their direct leader. So what they did is they identified the need for internal influencers at each department level. Someone in each department or region that can represent their team for those different types of conversations. So the CSC individual goes through a special training. It gets them prepared, gets them ready for the role. You can volunteer or you can be nominated by your peers. And after the training, you're equipped to help launch new products, processes, engage in your peer coaching, lead teams on a more informal basis. A lot of positives. Nobody felt like it was busy work. If you think back to some of the early slides, you don't want people to think, oh, great. The only way for me to move ahead or do things is to get more work or more busy work. Nobody felt like that. There are going to always be people that want to be engaged and want to be involved in programs like this. And that's what their program and the feedback they provided us showed. Again, it's influencing, but it's not influencing without authority because it's not a direct promotion, which means you don't have to wait for an opening, but you still get to have an impact with those coworkers, with those team members. Another sense of engagement. Again, you think back to that slide with the wheel, engagement in yellow is one of those key things that any organization is looking for. They saw so much success around it, they actually stopped a monetary compensation. When they started it, there was a monetary compensation. They said, we're going to stop that. And they didn't see any decrease in the interest or engagement in participating in the CSC program. So again, it's just another example that employees are craving learning opportunities. They want to grow. They want to be a valued member of the organization. And so a unique, creative way, they tied it to each department, division within the organization. They gave them the training, they turned them loose, and everybody is benefiting from it. So we felt it compelling to share, because when we heard this, not a lot of organizations take this kind of step and go through this. And again, it's a really great way to touch on many of the facets that we've covered in the slides today.
Thank you so much, Matt, and thanks everyone for hanging on for a few more minutes. That concludes our presentation. Like Matt said, we'll be sending out an email with this recording, these slides, and the worksheet that you saw in the chat, as well as a few other resources to help you on your journey to develop your employees and get more high performers, get more outcomes. Again, thank you so much, everyone. Really appreciate it. And we look forward to having you join for our next mini workshop coming up in June. I believe we've got June 13th. Yeah, perfect. So keep an eye out for that invite. June 13th, we're going to be talking more about elevating high performers, how you can expand their reach and their impact to do even more as you're developing them. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all again for the investment in time today. Have a great rest of your day.
All right. Thank you.